Ladies, what is the most obvious hint you've dropped that went unnoticed by a guy? I asked a boy I was dating if he wanted to be my boyfriend. He said yes. I thought that settled it. I find out a week later that he doesn't consider us boyfriend/girlfriend. Why? Because I asked him if he'd like to be my boyfriend and he answered that exact question. Apparently I was not clear on our status. Guy walking me home after our 6th date. I would really like to have sex with you, I say to him. He responds, thank you. I would really like to have sex with you too. He then proceeds to walk me to my door, thanks me for the night with a hug, and then he walks home. I wonder if he had like the worse, oh crap, realization later that night. From a guy's perspective, I was having a casual drink with a friend of mine. I thought we were 100% platonic. I normally walked her home, and at the end of the night I said something like, me, let's get you back home and to bed. Huh, that's a bit forward but alright then. Me, haha, imagine if that actually worked on a girl. Huh, yeah. Followed by an awkward silence. I was an idiot. Not a lady, but a girl I eventually dated in high school asked me for a ride home. We get there. Her parents are gone. We are hanging out in her room. She grabs my phone and puts it in her bra. When I ask for it back, she tells me to go get it. I was just confused. And then more confused when 10 minutes later she threw it at me and told me to leave. Went in for a kiss and he hugged me instead and then patted my head. We've been dating for over a year now. I tease him a lot about it. As a guy, I once had a girl climb in my bed and cuddle with me just thinking she must be cold. I literally whispered frick me in a seductive manner, and he responded with what's wrong? He thought I was saying frick me in a negative way. After weeks of him staying over late, he was friends with my roommate, so we could hang just the two of us. I gathered up my liquid courage and sat in his lap and kissed him. We did that for a while, but when I was like, let's go to my room, he asked me, why? And like, with complete poker face. So I panicked and was like, to finish the movie. The movie had ended. We both stared at the credits, and then he was like, well, it's late. Can I kiss you one more time before I go? Jesus Christ, he was thick. On the first date I went on with my husband, we were sitting next to each other really close, and I looked up at him and moved closer to his face, and he said, can I help you? If I have learned anything in my 30-something years alive, it's that if you want to sleep with a man, you basically have to come out and tell him, because they do not take hints well. I told my now boyfriend that I was attracted to him. He assumed that I meant I thought he was aesthetically attractive, but not into him myself. Same boy also missed me watching an entire football game with him in a pub, leaning on him the entire time, despite me saying I had never watched football before and thought it was boring, and then walking home holding his hand, as an indication of how much I liked him. Had this ridiculously attractive girl sit 2 seats down from me in a college writing class. Some kid sat between us. Girl proceeds to mean girl the crap out of this kid. Next class he sits somewhere else. She slides her books over to his seat, sits down next to me and says, hi, I'm your new partner, we didn't have partners in this class. After class she asks if she can email me a paper to critique. I give her my email address. She sends me her number. I text her, saying here's my number too, but I think you forgot to attach the paper. Never received the paper. Following the next class she asks me to walk her to her car. It's 11 AM. She claims to need to get something out of the back seat and then just sorta rummages around a very clean back seat, bent at the waist. Calls back that she hopes I'm enjoying the view. I sorta chuckled, oblivious. She gets out, looks at me, and says I'm a little surprised you didn't grab my ass. Maybe next time. Following class she literally takes my hand and places it on her ass, looking me dead in the eye, and says give it a squeeze. I've met predator drones less tenacious than her. Non-ladies who suddenly remembered all the hints they lost and now are smacking their peen foreheads in shame and disbelief at being so dumb. I met a guy in New Orleans, and after a lot of texting and talking, we wound up having a second date in California. I live in Colorado. He's in Florida. He had to run out to doing a few things, and when he came back, I was rolling a doobie in some lingerie out on the deck of our hotel room. He legit just said, "Hey, you ready for dinner? Get dressed so we can go." Back in HS I sent a guy pictures of my ass wearing underwear. He sent pictures back of his ass in his boxers. Totally clueless until we met up again in college and hooked up. Now we've been together for almost 4 years. I love my boyfriend, even though he missed my obvious advances 6-7 years ago. When the guy I have now been married to for 15 years and I first started hanging out, we spent a lot of time at a friend's house with the whole group. I finally got him out to front porch alone one night, hanging out on the couch there, and I kept finding reasons to touch him and flirt with him. I stole his watch and made him try to get it back from me. We tickled each other and other flirty goofing around. He told me after we started dating that he called a female friend later that night to ask her what she thought it meant if I was flirting with him. One night, we were at his house watching TV late, and I kept throwing hints at him. No dice. We were literally spooning on the floor by the TV, and I finally just said, "Would you like to kiss me?" He's such a sweet, wonderful man. Glad I finally got through his obliviousness. I was at a girl's house that asked for help with homework. When I walked into her dorm room she was in her underwear in bed and said, "Climb in. Let's do homework here." And I literally said, "I think I'll do it at the desk. That way we can write easier." What? A girl once sucked on my middle finger in a bar, and I thought she was just kidding around. In my defense it was because we were talking about the grossest things we ever did. I honestly don't know, because I assume that if I'm being obvious and it floats on by, that means he's noticing it alright, but ignoring it because he's not interested. So being even more obvious is just going to be uncomfortable and embarrassing. I know Reddit likes the narrative of women can always have what they want from guys, but that's really bullcrap. Well, I'm a lesbian, but ladies don't always pick up on hints either. On our third date, I told my girlfriend I wasn't wearing any underwear, and she just said, "I guess it's laundry day." Huh. Bless her heart. Me at 10:30 PM after a date, "Hey, do you want to come in?" Him, "No. I'm getting a cold sore." Me, "Well, okay then. How about drinks later this week?" Him, "If the cold sore is gone." Welp, it went away, and we are still dating 6 years later. Anyone else notice that most top commenters have usernames that are average girl names, with a between first and surname, or lol 9 months on Reddit, with very little post history? WTF is going on? Some sort of bot? Not a lady, but hints that I didn't pick up at the time, but later realized it was a hint. 1. Me and this girl watching a movie, moves closer to me, puts head on shoulder. About 5 minutes tries to hold my hand. I jumped, watching a scary movie, which I can't handle, causing our heads to hit. She moves back to the other side. 2. Went on this date. Afterwards I offered to walk her back to her house. It was a college town, so she only lived like 2 miles away. Get to her house, offers me to come inside for a couple of drinks. Declined due to having plans with friends. Proceeds to wait at the door for something. I don't know what she's waiting for, so I wave, tell her to have a good night, and go on my jolly way back to my place. God, thinking about I have so many stories which just makes me sad. A girl once asked me to hang out, and for my number. I thought she was joking, apparently she wasn't. When I was 16, I worked at an auto body shop. My job was to drive customers back to their house/place of business after they dropped off their car. One time, a very attractive woman dropped off her car, so I drove her home. She flirted with me the entire time, and when we got to her house, she told me that she wanted me to see her house, which she had just had remodeled. I said okay, and followed her in. When we got inside, she told me that her back was itching, and asked me to scratch it. I said okay, and scratched her back. She then said that I wasn't helping, because the itch was under her bra strap. She unhooked her bra and asked me to continue. So I reached under the back of her shirt, scratched her back where her strap used to be, then told her that I had to get back. She just stared at me. On the way back to work, it hit me that I could have gotten laid. Clueless 16-year-old girl here, on a second date. I invited a guy back to chat further and said my new silk sheets were very soft. He's into it, so we go to my place. After flirting for a half hour, he stops and says I gotta get going soon. It's getting late, but I wanna feel your sheets before I go. I'm confused, but I go with it because sex. We walks over to the bed and I wait for the kiss. Instead, he reaches down and pets the bed sheets, compliments how soft they are, and then walks to the door while saying we should set up another date. After he leaves, I lock the door and ponder. Maybe he wasn't into me, maybe he's abstinent. Confusion and acceptance follow. An hour later, I get a text that simply says, I'm an idiot. One lady's int is another's politeness. Source and lady. Guys are not only innately bad at taking hints, we are actively discouraged from assuming anything. If we misinterpret a hint, our lives could literally be ruined. Are on the side of freaking survival. Met my so when I was 16, and he was 17. Been together ever since. Have a home together. 2 dogs. All that jazz. Asked if he fancied having some fun. He replied, whilst winking what kind of fun. I proceeded to strip, and he turned to me and said, whilst looking quite sad, I was hoping you were going to ask me to have a battle between our Dungeons and Dragons characters. I placed my boyfriend on my bevag. He had to be told a few minimums later I was trying to initiate sex. Guy here, like most, was with a girl in her room and somehow our conversation went towards me massaging her. She argued it would be easier with her shirt off, then took her bra off. Still just figured yeah, this is easier. I'm pretty sure professionals do it this way too. Now, considering the context of this being a date with the 2 of us, I should have put 2 and 2 together but I didn't. When I told my roommate how my night went, he just kept staring at me or going and then. I have never seen someone fassip him as hard as he did. When I told him that's pretty much when I went home, I felt pretty stupid. Still do, haha. Had a girl tell me you are a big guy. I bet there are other parts on you that are big too. I just laughed it off and didn't really reacted to it since someone else was there. We were 14 and it was during a treatment trip. I don't know correct English term, but in Germany we just call it Kur. To my current boyfriend, we were best friends and we both liked each other, but every time I tried to tell him I liked him, he just made it very platonic. Fast forward a couple months, and he calls me to tell me he's in love with me and has been for months. Then I told that I was too, and he was shocked. Favorite thing about it was, after we started dating, he was like, oh, that makes sense, that's why you said that. We both made it out of the friend zone in the end, and have been happy together for 2.5 years. Not a lady, but when I was in Australia, an American AU pair and I went out for a date. We went to an Irish bar, I'm Irish, and spent a few hours together. Fast forward about 3-4 days, and we are out for a third date. We were headed back to the apartment we were both staying in, and she said to me, would you like to come over to my place, in a seductive tone. I thought she meant for more drinks, and got wildly wasted. I went to her place and spent the entire night watching classic rock videos and drinking Jack Daniels until I fell asleep. To my fiance once I said, it's a shame I always get horny when you're busy. I said as he was playing Overwatch, while I seductively massaged his shoulders. He continued playing Overwatch for a few hours and then later asked why we hadn't had sex in a while. As a guy, I went out drinking with a girl who was a longtime friend of my brother's and mine. We were friends with her older brother. She always attitude of OMG you're so stupid towards me. Anyway, I was single. She was single. She wanted us to drown our sorrows. We get back to her place and she's like, I'm so wasted, I need to get in bed. Come keep me company until I fall asleep. I'm like, okay cool. She tells me she sleeps in her underwear. She gets under the covers and pops her pants off. She turns over and tells me she's going to sleep. I'm like, well I sleep in my boxers. So I pop my pants off. Then she's like, ugh, I can't sleep with this bra on. Then, and I'll never forget this, she takes her shirt and bra off under the covers and says, now don't get any ideas. She turns over and faces away. So I start spooning her. I decide I can't fall asleep like this, cause it totally sucks. so I tell her I'm going home, get my pants back on and leave. I've realized now she really just wanted me to take control. It's okay though, I'm better off with how things turned out. I made out with this guy, who was a friend of a friend, while we were both wasted. He was cute, and I would have pursued it if he didn't call me the next day asking me if we kissed. I said yes, then said high five over the phone. The problem with this thread is it's asking women. We don't know if these guys didn't notice the hint or just weren't interested in the lady. It's like saying, guys, what's the most obvious hint you've dropped that went unnoticed by a girl? And some guys like, well, I whipped my peen out and waved it in her face and she just walked away. I had a girl who I had a crush on who came to my dorm, took her jeans off, and jumped in my bed. My thoughts? Frick, where am I gonna sleep now? That's a single bed. There's no room for me. I slept on the floor fuming at the injustice. Found out later what she wanted. Never even crossed my mind. Asked a guy out to a movie when I was about 15. He brought his best friend. I thought, okay, let's watch a horror movie so I can hold his hand. He told me to better hold his best friend's hand too because he thought the friend was scared. Years later another friend told me that the guy I invited had a huge crush on me. I also kissed him on the lips once and he just thought I was saying goodbye to him like to everyone else. I once spent an hour with my Tinder date asking her if she wanted to have sex. She said yes multiple times and it still took me quite a while to figure out she was serious. I said, so, you're a wrestler? How about you show me some wrestling moves? It was 1 AM. We were at his place after going out drinking. Second date. I was cuddling next to him on the couch. He was the captain of the wrestling team at our college. What did he do? Proceeds to show me basic wrestling moves. Okay, so this is your stance. He's now my husband and we have a kid, so he figured it out eventually. Guy here. When I was in high school, my crush, who's 2 years younger than me, asked me out to drink. I respectfully declined saying that we are too young and it's bad for you BS. She then told me that she just want to try making out with someone older. Naive. I still declined the offer. Earlier this year my buddy and I just talked about how stunningly hot she is today than before. Then it hit me. FML. It wasn't just one obvious hint, but throughout the entire night I was flirting with X, and he was 100% not getting it. I was touching him all night, putting my arms around his neck, brushing against his arms, putting all my attention towards him. We were with a group of friends, laughing at all his jokes. When we got back to his place, I was visiting from out of town. There wasn't enough room for everyone to sleep, so he offered me his bed. I said to him, oh, you can just sleep with me. I don't mind. He slept completely stiff and on his back all night despite my attempts to get closer. The next day, I did all my best flirting again, and we were all back at his place to watch a movie. I sat next to him. I kept going out of my way to touch him, resting my head on his shoulder during the movie. I think at one point I had my hands in his lap. That night we were back in his bed and I finally just made a move and kissed him. We just kissed. Nothing else. We've been together 13 years and married for 10. We joke about those 2 nights so much. He said to me he thought I was just being nice and didn't realize I liked him in that way. He had no idea. He's really shy and insecure. I'm glad I finally just made the move myself. Enthusiastically said yes to coffee. Got coffee. Burning hot. In a mug. Non-metaphorically. He then threw me out to play MMOs. Is it bad that I would react the same way most guys in this thread did? I married him. Yesterday was our 13th wedding anniversary. We've been together 20 years. He's still not sure if I want to get in his pants. This Reddit post proves there is a lot of Amelias out there, and on Reddit with the name Amelia. Me, walks into bar. Girl says wow you have big shoulders, me cool thanks. Also me, walks into Great Clips. Hi, welcome to Great Clips. She wants me. I'm the guy in this story. In college, a girl and I were talking and flirting on and off for a few months. And we kept talking about video games. Specifically Diablo 2. One day she says, hey, I'll come by after my gym class and you can show me. I'm like, yeah. A girl that likes video games Alright. Well, she came by after gym class. Alright. Turns out she had a 7:30 swim class. She was still in her bikini. She was still soaking wet. She looked me right in the eye and I knew exactly what she wanted. She wanted the Diablo. So I showed her my Hamadin and Ike Barb and what a ball run was. I had a guy come home with me and we were making out on the couch, so this guy should have known what's up. Keep in mind things were getting hot and heavy, so I ask if he wants to move to the bedroom. He says, why? I just looked at him and he eventually went to alright. At least he got laid, but damn buddy you nearly missed it. I was buying Halloween candy at Costco, full-sized bars. Very proud of myself. And the cashier leaned over the counter and said, do you want to get laid tonight? I was so focused on how impressed the kids would be at the full-sized bars that I thought she was implying that I was buying them to seduce trick-or-treaters. So I looked at her with a look of horror on my face and said no. Poor woman. A dude here. I was at a festival with some friends and a girl. The girl knew I had a crush on her. We slept in the same tent. Alone. We both got wasted and went to our tent to drink. We talked about me not getting laid because I was too afraid to take a first step. She literally explained every step I should do when a girl is in bed with me. You talk nice, you cuddle, place your hands on her neck, etc. I was all doing that to her. Finally I lay on top of her, faces close together, and then she said, now you kiss the girl. Her intentions were very clear, but not to me unfortunately. I got over her and took a drink and said thanks for the advice. Not me, but my coworker told me this story about our other coworker. He was in college and hanging out at the dorms about to eat his Del Taco when this very hot girl came up to him and asked if he wanted to go back to her room. And he said he would, but he just got Del Taco. So she waited until he finished eating his tacos. Then she strips down to lingerie and was like, okay, now do you wanna go? And he was like, but I still have a burrito. He did not hook up with her. Sometimes we pretend to miss obvious hints instead of hurting your feelings by rejecting you sexually. I was hanging out with a guy I was into like a year ago. We were just talking about stuff. Laying on my bed. It's 5 in the morning. When he gets up to drive home I say, well, you could just stay over. He looks confused and says that he always gets back pains by sleeping on sofas. To this day, I still don't know whether he was too stupid to get it or I just got hilariously cock-blocked. In defense of all these people missing signals, I had a girl share my bed who was not hitting on me, and I asked her if she minded that I slept in my underwear because I don't have any pajamas. Truly didn't. She angrily shouted nothing is going to happen in an angry tones, which I responded, yes I know. I'm not trying to make anything happen, I'm just making sure it's okay and you don't have an issue with me sleeping as I always do. Anyway, about 20 minutes later she put her hand down my underwear and started wanking me off before riding me. Some women can be totally bonkers with their intentions and signals. I remember during high school I was told by this girl's friend that she wanted to frick me. This was later corroborated by other friends as well. Fast forward to when we have a small gathering at her house, me and my male friend, her and her female friend, and when she and I end up alone, largely due to her friend wingmaning for her as I later learned, she comes out in yoga pants and starts doing stretches in front of me from a good angle. It didn't click. I don't know how in God's name I missed that signal, especially considering I knew full well beforehand that she was keen. But I did. I just thought, wow, that's weird. Why is she doing that now? Sat there silently playing on my phone for a while, and then left to hang out with the other two people. She didn't try anything after that. A mutual friend was teasing the guy I was into, saying that he would never get laid because he's cute but not hot. I straight out said, that's not true. I think you're sexy as hell. He turned to me and said, thank you, but you wouldn't sleep with me. So oh well. I said, yes, I would. And he said, I'd sleep with you too. Thanks. It is risky to attack on signals because they could be misinterpreted. I had been on a few dates with this guy, and one time he was at my house and we started to hook up. Midway through I said, wait, do you want to go in the shower with me? He proceeded to respond, no thanks. I actually just showered this morning, so that would be pretty pointless. not a lady, but I'm still amazed at the obliviousness of my youth to this day. Once in college, my date and I were on the way back from a bus trip party, getting close to our drop-off point, maybe 5 minutes out of nowhere, she completely drops the conversation we were having and says something along the line of, "Shoot, I don't know where I'm going to sleep tonight. I didn't put the sheets back on my bed after they came out the dryer." I spent the next 5 minutes in silence trying desperately to figure out why the hell she didn't just put the sheets back on her bed when she got home. When the bus arrives she says, "Actually I think I'll just go home. I still SMH at MYSELF for that one lol." Once told a partner we should go to the store for condoms and wine. We went. We came home. We watched TV. We went to sleep. Flip side story. Girl drops the most obvious hints. Pretends she didn't notice she was. She's engaged to a military guy who is off at base for a few months. We're old friends. She hits me up to hang out because she's bored. Sure thing. Come chill. At some point, we joke about my bachelor life, Tinder, and how girls that message you after 10:30 only want one thing. She starts dropping hints, talking about how her man doesn't have sex with her anymore, how she isn't sure if he's the one, etc. Gets a bit awkward. We call it a night. She heads home. 10:39 PM the next night. She texts me to hang out. I got the hint, but didn't respond. I have a huge problem with cheating, especially when the guy's off protecting our country. She knows this. Everyone that knows me knows this. It's one of those moral lines I've never crossed and never will. Notice a car turning around in my driveway. It's her. She lives 45 minutes away. The gears start turning in my head. She spent 3 hours getting ready after work, hopped in her car, started driving my way, and waited over half an hour to send a text to ensure it was after 10:30. Well, now I'm convinced. Next day, she asks me if it would be weird if I came to her place. Tells me there's nothing to worry about because you know who won't be here. Offers me food/drink/video games. Well, now, I'm 110 and number 37, certain of what's going on. No doubt in my mind. I blew up. Told her how uncomfortable she's making me, how I respect her fiance, and reminded her in no uncertain terms that I have a huge freaking problem with military wives cheating on their man while they're serving. She plays dumb. Pretends she doesn't know what a jodie is. Pretends she didn't mean to send all those hints. Says she really just wanted to eat pizza and play video games with me. She's sent pages worth of apologies and explanations. She's still trying to hang out. Still trying to see me. All of my friends are saying to just keep my mouth shut and let it go. But her man and I are going to have a drink and read through her messages when he gets back. I can't let him embarrass himself like that. I'm the oblivious guy in this story. When my girlfriend and I were in the introductory phase of our relationship, she invited me back to her apartment to see her record player, and when we got there she proceeded to lie on the bed and invite me to lie next to her. Dumb boy numero uno has never seen a record player before and gets super into it, asking tons of technical questions and completely ignoring the seductive girl on the bed. Needless to say I did not get laid that day lol. Freshman year in the dorms, and I was in a flirty texting back and forth with a boy upstairs. I was dropping major hints reminding him I had my own room, etc. But he was not biting. He mentioned how he sure could use a back rub, so I took his hint and said I'd be up in a seconds. Went up to his room, and he answered looking perplexed and said, "Oh, I didn't know you were actually going to come up." And it was mega awkward until I definitely left a few minutes later. He also one time left a movie in my darkened room at free room because the girl next door was watching a better movie. He told me later that that was literally the insert, not the other girl, the better movie. Twist. I married him, and we've been together almost 11 years. Kudos to me for persistence.